Hi, welcome to Chad Silversmithing. First, thanks for coming to my channel. I appreciate you visiting. Make sure to hit the like button before you leave. That helps out a lot. Today I'm going to do a project I'm tentatively going to call a fold-over ring. I'm not sure what else to call it because it's basically a design you create and you fold it in half like this so that your finger can go through the two holes that you've created going through that. And you could do it with sheet or you could do it with wire. I'm going to do kind of a wire framework one, and I've seen some similar ones online and I thought it might be kind of fun to try. So I picked out a little green tourmaline that's got kind of an unusual cut to put in it, and I think it'll be pretty. Before we get to that though, I needed to express some thanks for some people. First off, my YouTube subscribers are growing incredibly well, and I'm so thankful to them for signing up and taking the time to watch some of my videos. I really appreciate it. It makes me feel good when people tell me that they're getting something useful out of them, so I appreciate you leaving those kind of comments. Thank you so much. That really helps out and helps me stay motivated. So the other group I'd like to thank is my patrons over on Patreon. I have some new ones today to announce. I have Suzanne T, Kathy N, and Diane R. So thank you so much for signing up. I appreciate your support. YouTube is kind of my premium area where if you want some extra contact or access to some exclusive tutorials, that's a good place to check out. So if you're interested in that, make sure to hit the video description down below. There's a link to it in there, as well as a link to buy me a coffee if you just want to give me a tip, kind of. And the other two links are my website and my merch store. And I wanted to talk a little bit about both of those. Not only on my website do I have jewelry, but I'm starting to add some merch as well there. It's a little bit different than the merch that's available through YouTube. But both have some interesting stuff, and I'm going to add some things to them both. One of which is going to be homemade file handles. This is one that I made as kind of a prototype for what I'm going to be selling, but they're comfortable in your hand. You can knock in a new file pretty easily, but I'll have these for sale as I have the time to make them, and they'll be marked with my little logo on the back end. Hopefully I'll be able to center it better than I did on this one. But, so yeah, those will be available for sale, as well as I'm not going to make them out of this kind of exotic wood, but these are kind of a mid-range mandrel that I've come up with on my lathe, and I find it really useful when you need to shape some things that are kind of in between the size of a jump ring mandrel, but maybe go a little bigger than what your ring mandrel can handle. So those will be available as well, probably made out of oak, on my both my website and the merch tab down below the video here. So I think that's all the self-promotion I have for today, so let's get to the project. Here's the tourmaline that I picked out. You can see that there. It's got kind of a weird cut to it, but it's got a nice straight girdle, so I don't think it should be too hard to set. That's kind of a rich, deep green color. I've had this one for a long time, so finally time to do something with it. So I'll set this right here. I sketched a few different designs for this one, and I don't love any of them, but I'm going to try something here. So I think what I probably will do is we'll put, I was going to center it here in this one. I think this one was a little too busy for my taste, but let's see. I was going to do it in the center here, but I don't know. I think maybe I should do it off to the side part of the way or something, just to be different. So, and I may fill in the top here on this one on the sides. Not 100% sure. The other difference that I think I might do as far as this is, instead of making this so wide, I'm going to make the finger opening slightly oval to bring this in just a bit, and that'll make the ring slightly narrower then. So these are set for about size 8, and then I made them oval, so I may go ahead and use these ones since I already made them. But the rest of it will do in front of the camera. But I think the first thing we need to do is make a bezel for this little guy. So let's do that. I think most of the materials for this one are going to be 14 and maybe 16 gauge round wire made out of sterling silver, and then I'm going to use some 3/16 inch fine silver bezel strip. This particular stuff is 28 gauge, and I'm going to use it, and I'll have to cut it down a little bit, but I generally just keep the taller stuff around, that way I can always have enough room for a stone. But let's make a bezel for this guy first. Get that pretty close on the first try. When you're doing that, try not to stab yourself in the finger with your pick like I just did. Make sure that edge is nice and flat. As always, I pretty much use hard silver sheet solder. Very rarely use anything else. And then My-T-Flux, which is a flux from Rio Grande. Okay, I have some solder here already. Looks like we got the size pretty good. Oh, one other material. I typically use 18 gauge round silver wire to create a step inside a bezel for a faceted stone like this. And we're going to create, I'm going to create 2 rings to elevate it from the bottom but leave an open back. A lot of people buy their own pre-made step bezels or step bezel material and then make their own bezels, or create their own step bezel in a different way, like using sheet or some more bezel to create a double lip. Whatever works for you is fine. That's it. Okay. Do one more. Solder those both in there. I have some solder over here. I'm just going to make a little pile, set this on top of it after I flux it, and then heat the whole thing. It should just draw it right up in there. So. Pretty clean bottom there. Everybody wants to have a clean bottom. Okay, so we got our bezel made. Now, let's see. Basically trying to figure out how tall it's going to be. This one ended up being about 85 millimeters. And like I said earlier, I made these to be about a size 8, and then I made them into an oval, kind of, so in order to create a narrower ring. So it needs to be about this long. I'm going to cut off something that's just slightly too much for what I need. Okay, let's start by filing one end. So I'm going to have this meet somewhere in the middle here. And we'll just decide where we're going to start the curve. Just a little narrower there, I think. I want it to touch on either side. I'll go ahead and file this just to make sure we get a nice solder connection there. A few little pieces of solder over here I'm going to use up. Okay, I think I'm going to solder it in about like that. So I'm going to cut a few mid-sized pieces. So we'll cool that off. I was thinking maybe for the inner parts here, I was going to use 16, but I'm not sure. So let's see what 16 looks like here. This is 16. So I need some of this that's pretty straight. I also need to find the exact center of this thing. So I'm going to use my wooden ruler here because it's just what I'm kind of used to. I think to start, let's solder those ones in. That's pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and solder it in. I can make adjustments as I do that. Alright, got those ones on. I wanted to do them so that they gradually got narrower as they went, so I'm going to cut some and do them right up against these rings, and then we'll fill in the gap, hopefully in a gradually decreasing space between them. I'm going to use a magnesium block I have here. It's got a little flatter surface than the pad, probably. I'm going to go ahead and solder these just so I can then adjust them, because sometimes the rolling around is hard to get them to stay where you want them to stay. I'm trying to get them to where each gap gets gradually smaller, but it's kind of a small space. Okay, pretty good, I think. Sometimes you have to do some adjusting to get things to play just how you want it to. So. Okay, 3 more for this side. Okay, something that I decided, while this is pickling a little bit, after I pulled it out, I bent it into the shape it's going to be, and which is going to be, we're going to bend it in half here, but the top of it went way far higher than I expected, and so I need to cut some of this out. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this part right here and solder these two together about the right distance for that bezel to sit in. So to start with, I'm just going to cut this right here. Right here. And we'll just make it a little bit shorter. We'll just solder it back together like that, because that's about the right width. And then I'm going to bend it, and then we'll see how this fits in here, and then we'll go from there. this kind of as a guide. Basically, it's going to go on your finger like this. But I'm going to try and get that to be a little bit flatter. I think it might be prudent to solder this together at the bottom. To do that, I may need to bend these inwards a little bit sharper than they're going to eventually be, just so they meet. I'm just going to pick a little solder right there, hold it together. People who like unusual contemporary rings, I think will like this one probably. I think I'm going to file this just a little bit offset so that this will slide down in there. So, do that. I need to mark where I'm going to do it. I want to file in a little bit of notch here. I want to make sure it's straight and everything. I think I'll probably use a third hand here. Put it like that so nothing can fall off, maybe. Let me take a look at that, whether it flowed or not. So we got flowage along both points, so I'm going to let that, well, last thing. I'm going to add a little bit more solder right there. Let that clean up for a while, then I will polish it and set the stone, and we'll see how it looks. Mostly polished up and straightened up and everything, and mostly. And I went ahead and filed this down to the correct height, at least theoretically. Let's see if we can't get this to sit in there. This one I'm going to start with the corners. In hopes that I can get it to not rock at all. If I get them all pushed down a little bit. So far so good. Now I'm going to go to the sides, or the ends I guess. That's unfortunate. The stone spalled a little piece off when I was pushing on one of the corners. So, unfortunately, I don't have a replacement stone for this. I'm going to go ahead and set it, and we'll get photographs of it. But I'll probably have to end up pulling this out, pulling the whole bezel off, and putting a brand new stone, you know, a bezel for a different stone in here. Sometimes these strange cuts are really hard to set, so what I was doing, I got a little distracted because I was bummed because I broke the stone. But I usually start with the corners and just gently push them over in order to kind of get the stone to stop moving. And I must have pushed a little bit too hard. This one had very sharp corners, and you got to be real careful with those. And I apparently wasn't quite careful enough, and put just a little bit too much pressure, and so it caused a little spall to come off. But then I usually start by filling in the sides, you know, pushing in the sides until it doesn't move at all. And then I'll go back and I'll do the burnishing stage. Okay. And if there's a lot of excess metal at the corners of the bezels, sometimes I'll file them a little bit thinner there. Now this bezel was already pretty thin, and it was a tight stone, so I didn't want to get too crazy with it. But yeah, you just burnish it down and then you're all pretty much done. So I think generally an interesting kind of ring. Some people won't like it, probably. Other people will love it. You get those people come along once in a while who like the really unusual stuff. And so I like to have a few pieces like that around. So that one's interesting. All right. Alright, well that was the fold over ring with the Tourmaline. I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure to hit the like button as you leave. If you wouldn't mind, check out a couple of my other videos. I have tons of content here. I have 150 plus videos now. Many tutorials, some tips, material that's appropriate for beginners, as well as some material that's for more advanced people who just are looking for some ideas to try. So peruse some of those, check them out, and maybe consider subscribing. And if you do subscribe, ring the bell so that you get notifications when I release a new video, which incidentally is Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays generally. So thank you for watching. Take care. Happy silversmithing.